we'll move on to our next topic here. A team that is a little iffy coming out to start this season. They're very top heavy, but they've also dealing with some injuries right now. The Boston Celtics potentially should be looking to trade for someone to bring some new talent in here. And we're going to break down who that could be to get them over the edge. Somebody that I actually have on this list, we were just talking about, Jeremy Grant. If the Celtics can find a way to put together a package for him that the Pistons would be willing to accept, I think that would be decent. Obviously, I think the Celtics need a pro guard, a star guard, more than they need a forward. But we're just going based on what we hear is available too.
Yeah, I mean, when you have two all-star or superstar forwards or wings next to each other like that, you really need a solid playmaker to pull them together. And I like Jeremy Grant. He could fit if they had a main playmaker like that. They thought it could be Marcus Smart, isn't him. Dennis Schroeder showed some, but it's not him either. He couldn't even be that on the Lakers, who stacked all near the same situation. Two forwards, talented forwards there. But they really need a main playmaker, and I don't know what it could be. I mean, I got two fringe trades where it's like just throwing talent there, seeing maybe this will change. And I have two that are kind of big trades. So,
all right, let's hear them. What's your first one?
So the first one is the Celtics get Seth Curry, and they give away Dennis Schroeder, Jabari Parker, and a second-round pick.
Yeah, I don't see why the Sixers would trade Seth Curry. He's been awesome for them. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I feel like they need shooting more than anything too.
I can see if this was closer to like if Ben Simmons ever got traded and they got back a not that good of a defensive guy, and they just didn't want to put Seth Curry next to an already bad defensive guard that they pull out, or I could see them being like, all right, well, let's get, not that either of these two players are good at defense, but let's just get a little more rather than just having Seth Curry. So I don't know. I don't see it in their timeline. I just saw him and I thought he would be a good fit next to these two guys. And this was the best offer they could probably give to him.
Yeah, you're right. It makes sense for the Celtics. Doesn't make sense for the Sixers. I feel like if Sixers, if they kept struggling and like Embiid didn't play enough games and they were in danger of missing the playoffs, maybe they trade Seth Curry and they get a first round pick back. But yeah, what's your other one?
I got three more.
All right, what's your next one?
So next one is actually, this one kind of makes a lot more sense. It doesn't really fix any problems, but it's a Terrence Ross for Josh Richardson swap. Mm-hmm. They get a guy who can obviously make offense. They get a 6-man type role, and Josh Richardson. Magic get a decent veteran who can come in, play some defense. Really, he just gets a better start. I mean, he has higher potential than Terrence Ross already is. Not that his potential is outrageous, but I mean, his career kind of fell off once he left the Heat. He's just pinned as just a defender, like nothing more than that, and I can't make any offense. So I think he can get a nice refreshing start with the Magic where he doesn't have to fill a role. He's just like, you can do a little bit more now. You have the space to see if you can get back to what you were starting to look like with the Heat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that one. I think Josh Richardson's a better player than Terrence Ross, but they do different things. So I guess if you're the Boston Celtics and you're just looking for more offense, maybe it makes sense.
He's just I never really liked Josh Richardson on the Celtics anyway. He's a little redundant. I mean, you already have Marcus Smart. I mean, yeah, you get another really good, nice defender, but you have Marcus Smart basically already filling that role of a guy who struggles with offense. So I don't know. I think it'd be okay to deal him out. He wouldn't be able to get traded till January, but still, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
So
what's the next one?
Yeah, so this one's a little more believable, but it kind of leans on the fact that the Trailblazers want to blow something up, or they want to just make some differences. CJ McCollum for Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, and a first-round pick. Top 8 protected pick, 2022.
Sorry, who was the player the Celtics were getting?
CJ. Celtics get CJ,
oh, yeah.
who is a shooting guard for the Trailblazers now, but in college he played point guard. He can certainly step into that role. He's a really nice playmaker as is. He's just not the main one on the Trailblazers. So I could see him stepping in that role. I mean, that's hard to say. That's not going to be a competitive team starting five with CJ, Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Time Lord.
Yeah, no, that's not bad. I mean, CJ McCollum would be a nice fit next to those guys. I feel like decent ball handler, obviously a good leader, smart guy, and maybe he's got a better attitude than a lot of other dudes on that squad, like Marcus Smart, who just signed an extension, is like, oh, I'm still going to trash talk my teammates. CJ McCollum, who's constantly in trade rumors, says, I want to be a Blazer for life. I love my teammates. That's the difference between a good teammate and a bad teammate.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the Trailblazers would get Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard in a first year. This is what if they ever made this move, I would see it more as like an insurance competitive move. They're like we want to stay competitive, but we want to get something back before we just lose our stars. So they get a young point guard who, he looked really nice last season. He struggled a bit this season. They get a first round pick, and they still get a decent player who can produce now. I mean, he's still averaging 10 points, still playing great defense, awesome veteran to have on your team. And I mean, you mix it up. I mean, they'll probably be a little more forward heavy now, but then you just move Anthony Simons to 2, see what happens, just a mix up. I mean, they need something needs to be thrown around with the Trailblazers. They're not going to get where they want to get with the roster they have now. So
I agree. Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be time for them to make a move. I mean, they've been kind of half-assing it with their roster for years now. So,
so last one. This one's a little pushy. So the Celtics get Patrick Beverley, D'Angelo Russell, Jaden McDaniels, 2 second-round picks, and a 2023 top 5 first-round pick for Josh Richardson and Jaylen Brown. So this is something where they're like, you know what? We talked about it last week, 2 weeks ago, where they're like, this forward, they're just too redundant. They do the same things. It's just you do an ISO, then I do an ISO. We got to mix it up. They get a decent playmaker. They get 2 really nice playmakers, 2 starting caliber power forwards, and Pat Bev and D'Lo. They get a nice piece who could be young, Jaden McDaniels. They get some picks. We know how much. Not even Danny Ainge anymore, but Brad loves picks. So, and then the Timberwolves get a defender, and they get a new better star, but then they get a guy who he could fit into the Timberwolves a little better with his playing defense. So I see it more on the Timberwolves as a win. I do see the Celtics if it's just come to a frustration point and they're like, this isn't working with those 2 stars. It's too early for this. Maybe if this was like a year or 2 down the road and they're still the same team, I'd be like, all right, this is more likely. But this is more of a
I don't see Jaylen Brown getting traded this year, and then. In terms of D'Angelo Russell in a couple of years, it's like I don't see D'Lo on the Wolves probably in a couple of years, unless we have a lot of success. Unless the Wolves have a lot of success this year, so I don't really see that being an offer that can be there in a couple of years either. But I don't hate it. I mean, it kind of depends on what the Celtics would want to do, but. I feel like in general, their fans would be like, we need to get a better player than D'Angelo Russell as the headliner in return for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. I mean, D'Lo's he had a slow start to the season, so it's kind of left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. The last few games, he's been looking really nice.
It's really just the box score a lot of the times that makes D'Lo look like he's having bad games. He's actually playing solid defense, and he's been facilitating really well. He has had some dumb turnovers early in the season, but the last few games, I feel he's cut down on that. And really, he's just missing his jumpers right now. And sometimes those fall in bunches for him, and he has like an awesome game. So we're just kind of taking it for what it is right now. And I think no problem. D'Lo will figure it out here soon. It's just kind of in his head at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt a streaky player, but I do think he would add to the offense and certainly be at least the primary playmaker they would want next to Jason Tatum.
Yeah, a couple of other guys I put down here that are probably more realistic without giving up a ton for the Celtics. Karis LeVert on a high-end player. That would be really great for them, I feel.
Except for I thought about that too. He just can't get traded this year because of his extension he signed. So it would have to be next year.
Sure. So, I mean, that could be a good target in the future, though. Buddy Hield is a guy they could get if they just need to get some raw shooting, get some talent in. I don't think it would be anything crazy for him. I mean, maybe even just swapping him and Marcus Smart might be a good idea, to be honest. And then one last guy that they could just get for free is Devontae Graham if they just need to get a body in the building.
Yeah, I thought about Devontae Graham as like at least a nice playmaker, but when you already have Dennis, he's more or less just Dennis Schroeder's just not as good of a shooter, but he's at least the same amount of playmaker. I see them in the same way, so I don't know. I thought about that too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, I mean they could go many ways.
Yeah, they just have to do something for their for a point guard. I really think that's what they're missing out. I mean, they were with basically the same roster with a healthy Kemba Walker and with a healthy Kyrie. They were nearly unstoppable. So that's what they need.
Yeah.
They just need a really nice playmaker at the point.
Yeah, I mean Kyrie Irving, if he wasn't mentally, psychotically deranged, like maybe it would have been a great fit with the Celtics and he would have stayed long term, and we could be looking at the dynasty type of team right now. But you know who he is, so